career with the Lexington County Sheriff's Department and then began diversifying his experience by working at the Columbia Police Department and the Richland County Sheriff's Department. In 1979, Jim was one of the first 3 South Carolinians to be hired by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. While with the DEA, he conducted very complex, long-term drug investigations, drug homicide investigations, and extensive undercover work in South Florida, in other parts of the U.S. and the Caribbean. Mr. Matthews was an instructor for the DEA at Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Georgia, as well as the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. He served nearly 6 years for the DEA in northern Thailand, where he was in charge of all U.S. government narcotics enforcement operations in Thailand along the Thai-Burma border. Mr. Matthews supervised a multi-agency drug and violent crime task force in Atlanta, and then began the special agent in charge of the DEA's Columbia office. In that capacity, he formed a multi-agency drug task force that worked with numerous agencies in the Midlands of South Carolina. He retired from the DEA after 22 years of service. Mr. Matthews is a graduate of the University of South Carolina with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He also graduated from the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, winning the J.T. Strom Thurmond Award as Outstanding Student in his class. Mr. Matthews was the top student in academics and physical training at the DEA Academy in Washington, D.C. Jim Matthews and his wife Heather moved to Kershaw County in 2003 and lived in the Charlotte Thompson community. They co-teach a young married adult Sunday school class at First Baptist Church of Camden. Please welcome Jim Matthews. Sammy Tucker is the Democratic candidate for sheriff. He is a 1984 graduate of Camden High School and attended the University of South Carolina. He is a graduate of the South Carolina Economic Development School from the College of Charleston, a graduate of Level 1 and Level 2 Institute of Government for County Officials, and is a graduate of Kershaw County Palmetto Leadership. He is a veteran, having served in the U.S. Navy as a submariner. He continued his service in the Naval Reserve, serving as a military policeman. Sammy joined the South Carolina Highway Patrol in 1990, and after graduating from the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, was assigned to Berkeley County as a patrolman. Sammy's love for Kershaw County led him to seek a transfer home in 1992, where he served as a trooper for the Kershaw County, until 1998. For the last 16 years, he has owned and operated his own business here in Kershaw County. He was elected to Kershaw County Council in 2005, where he is now vice chairman and is also a board member on the Finance Committee, the Economic Development Committee, and the Santee Lynch's Council of Government Board. He also serves on the Transportation, Economic Regional, and Workforce Investment Board committees, and is a board member for the South Carolina Association of Counties Legislative Board. He is currently the chairman of Kershaw County First Step, a Legionnaire of Post 203, and serves on numerous other boards throughout the county and state. Sammy has been a coach with the Kershaw County Recreation Department for over 20 years and stays involved today with our youth and young people. He is a member at St. Matthew's United Methodist Church, where he is the chairman of the trustees, ushers board member, United Methodist Men, and various other committees in the church. Sammy has been married to his wife Annette for 22 years, and they have 3 children. He is the son of Sammy and Dorothy Tucker of Camden, South Carolina. Please welcome Sammy Tucker. And at this time, we will draw the order for opening statements. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Closing remarks will be made in reverse order, and candidates, please remember to say your name before each response. Here I have the two papers. Shake them up a little bit, make sure it's all fair. And pick the first one, and it's Jim Matthews.
Jim Matthews. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of my supporters and all of those who voted for me in the primary election to give me a very convincing victory. Some people actually called it a landslide. My support came from all areas of Kershaw County. People expressed their concerns to me. I listened to what they said, and I promised them that I would do something about their problems. As I traveled about the county, it was almost 2 years, prior to the election, I asked people what their concerns were, and overwhelmingly I got the same 3 answers. People are concerned about drugs. They're tired of their kids going to school and having drugs stuck in their kids' faces. Drugs are behind a lot of the crimes in this county. I have a very extensive law enforcement background in drug enforcement at all levels, from the street level to complex investigations. I intend to use that experience as I oversee a drug unit at the Kershaw County Sheriff's Department. The second thing that people were afraid of are gangs. People are fearful of the increase in gang violence and the activity that gang members do in our community. The violence and the drug dealing that they do causes a total disruption in our schools, and we need to do something about that. I will work with community leaders to do whatever it takes to try to keep kids out of gangs in the first place. But for those who are determined to be in gangs, we will crack down harder. I will use my experience in dealing with gangs and a number of agencies that I work with to do something about the gang problem. Break-ins are at an epidemic level. The majority of them are caused by drug addicts who are breaking into houses to steal to get money for their drugs. We will more completely oversee drug investigations, and the victims will be notified of the progress of their case. Kershaw County has the 3rd highest DUI fatality rate in the state of South Carolina. It is my job, it is my responsibility as sheriff to do something about that. The bottom line is I have a wide range of experience, and I intend to use that experience as sheriff of Kershaw County. Thank you.
Good evening, Sammy Tucker. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you as well for all of the citizens of Kershaw County for supporting me since I have been an elected official for soon to be 6 years as of December. I say this because I do not take this task that I'm trying to seek as sheriff, nor my current elected position, for granted. I just want you to know that as you heard my resume that was read earlier, Sammy Tucker is about servicing the county of Kershaw. People. People first. It always has been, it always will be. I love people because I don't think God created us on islands to live by ourselves. With that being said, as your new sheriff, I will make sure that these bridges that have been either torn down or never built with different organizations and leaders in the community and outside agencies, that we bridge these gaps back, that we can take control of things within our county through other resources by leveraging them with no cost to the tax dollars. Because as I well know, right now we all are crunched in our pockets. And if there's anyone here that says different, then I would ask that you share with others. With that being said, I also want to echo that you have problems in Kershaw County. They're just not one particular problem that's a problem. I had a conversation with a lady not long ago that she said, how would you handle a certain situation? And I just told her that if you call 911, it must be important to you because you took the time to call. And we need to treat each and every case that comes through that way, just as important, whether it's a bicycle or whether it's a murder case. I'll assure you that no matter where you live in this county, who you are, what's your status, Sammy Tucker, as your sheriff, will represent you and all of the citizens within. Thank you.
forum. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to respond, and we will go in order of the opening statements that were made and then in reverse order thereafter. So first, question. I will read it right now. Being sheriff requires more than just the skills necessary for law enforcement and fighting crime, but is also largely administrative and requires expertise in managing a multi-million-dollar budget. What is your expertise or your experience in managing a budget? We will begin with Jim Matthews.
Jim Matthews. My opportunities for managing a budget didn't come later on into my career with the Drug Enforcement Administration. When I was stationed overseas in Thailand, I had a 55-man Thai force that I had to fund and manage the money that kept them running. I also had an office with a number of intelligence projects, wiretaps, and other somewhat classified operations that I had to oversee and manage the budget. We paid informants. We had to keep track of every single dime. We were constantly monitored by our inspections division, and if we had an issue, my neck was on the line. When I went to Atlanta, I also had a budget that I had to oversee in the group that I supervised over the Violent Crime Task Force that I oversaw. And then when I moved to Columbia as the agent in charge, I was responsible for the budget of the Columbia District Office. We covered 17 counties. We had a number of operations that we had to fund. We had office expenses that we had to fund. And again, I was under an intense amount of scrutiny through the federal government oversight that we had in the DEA. So I have a considerable amount of experience in managing a budget. However, I am not an accountant. And if necessary, I will call in the expertise from somebody who is more experienced at that than I am to make sure that it's done correctly. I don't pretend to have all the answers, and I will ask if I don't know something. But managing taxpayers' dollars is very important to me, and I will ensure that it's done and that it's done properly. Thank you.
Sammy Tucker. Managing a budget. This county has a budget right now of almost $20 million that I set on the Finance Committee and see over as we speak. I'm not ashamed or afraid to admit in my past, being an entrepreneur in this county, I've had rough times. But I think along with that, that brings a level of character that you just can't read in the book, that you just can't get off the shelf. In the last 6 years, I've proven myself here in Kershaw County to manage your budget and to do good by you, who are the taxpaying citizens. With that said, the sheriff has a budget of about $3 million. There's a lot of programs that need to be initiated. We can't do that just off the backs of the taxpayers. So we're going to have to level our resources with our writing grants and being creative and finding ways that we can get business communities involved and all of you, so we can do things that are better for the county, but it won't break the bank in which we have to work within. We're given a particular amount of money every year set by county council, and you're to follow within that. And I have no problems doing that now, setting the budget. I will have no problems doing that in the future as the sheriff using the budget. Thank you.
Some residents in the northern part of Kershaw County, near Kershaw, state that there is not enough visibility from the Sheriff's Department in that area. What will you do to address their concerns? Question number 2, Mr. Tucker, you will begin.
Thank you. Sammy Tucker. Once again, this goes back to what we talked about earlier. The main thing I think that we have to do is we have to go into the Sheriff's Department and make sure that we have people where they're needed the most. We don't need a whole lot of chiefs and very few Indians. That's not the way that you manage people, and that's not the way you be productive. What we need is to make sure that every healthy body is out on the road patrolling and doing their job. Secondly, in the rural areas,